Imagine a silent algorithm running in the background of your life 24/7. It never sleeps, never argues, never negotiates. It simply takes what you do most often and turns it into who you are. Not a piece of code on your phone, a pattern of repetition in your brain, your body, your calendar. Every late night scroll, every skipped workout, every honest conversation, every tiny decision you repeat is being logged, compiled, and eventually deployed as your fate. In this video, we're going to explore what I call the destiny algorithm, the invisible link between what you repeat and who you become. We'll break down the neuroscience, the psychology, and the brutally practical side of how repetition becomes destiny. And more importantly, how to seize the controls back, because if your life feels stuck right now, it's not because you're broken, it's because your algorithm is. Let's debug it, starting right now. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your future is not mainly shaped by big dramatic decisions. It's shaped by the tiny things you do so often that you stop noticing them. In other words, your repetitions. In this video, I want to show you how those repetitions stack, compound, and eventually hard code your identity and your fate. We'll look at how habits rewire your brain, how your environment programs your behavior, why willpower is overrated, and how subtle daily loops quietly predict your finances, health, relationships, and sense of meaning. And then we'll design a new algorithm, one that actually points at the life you say you want. If you're new here and you like deep dives like this, consider subscribing and tapping the notification bell so you don't miss future breakdowns. And stay with me until the end, because I'll give you a simple step-by-step process to rewrite your destiny algorithm starting today. Let's start with a simple idea. What is an algorithm? In tech, it's a set of rules a computer follows to get from input to output. You type a question, the algorithm ranks answers. You swipe, it predicts what you'll like next. Your life runs on similar rules, only your inputs are thoughts, emotions, environments, and impulses. Your outputs are actions and results. Most people think destiny is mystical, written somewhere out there. But destiny is often just an emergent property of thousands of repeated micro-choices. Drink soda daily? That's an algorithm. Complain every time something's hard? Another algorithm. Always volunteer for extra responsibility? One more. These rules aren't written in a programming language. They're written in what you do, repeatedly. Over time, they become predictable. Given enough repetition, anyone watching you could forecast your likely health, income, relationships. When you see your life as algorithms, you stop asking, "Who am I?" and start asking, "What rules am I running?" To understand why repetition is so powerful, we need to talk about your brain's wiring. Your brain loves efficiency. Every time you repeat an action, scrolling, reading, exercising, it lays down a microscopic trail, a neural pathway. Do it again, the pathway thickens. Again, it becomes faster, easier, more automatic. Neuroscientists call this Hebb's rule. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Repetition trains your brain to conserve energy by turning conscious choices into reflexes. That's why the first week at the gym feels like a war, and the 50th week feels like brushing your teeth. Now, here's the catch. Your brain doesn't care if the pattern serves you or destroys you. Smoke every time you're stressed? Your brain wires that in. Have a tough conversation every time there's conflict? It wires that too. So repetition isn't neutral, it's a voting system. Every repetition is a vote for which pathways and which future you keep. Habits are the practical face of the destiny algorithm. A habit is simply a behavior that's become so repeated it runs on autopilot. There's a well-known loop: cue, routine, reward. A cue is the trigger, time of day, emotion, location. The routine is what you do. Check your phone, snack, open your notebook. The reward is the feeling afterward. Relief, pleasure, stimulation, progress. Repeat this loop enough, and your brain stops waiting for you to decide. 8 a.m. becomes coffee and scroll. Feeling anxious becomes snack and Netflix. Or, in a different life, 8 p.m. becomes study for an hour. Feeling anxious becomes go for a walk. If you map your day in 30-minute blocks, you'll notice it's defined less by big goals and more by these invisible loops. You don't rise to your level of ambition, you fall to your level of repetition. Change your loops, and over time, your destinations change with them. Here's where it gets deep. Repetition doesn't just shape behavior, it shapes identity. The more you repeat something, the more your mind says, this must be who we are. You don't just run habits. Habits eventually become people like me stories. If you often bail on commitments, your brain starts labeling you, I'm unreliable. Repeat pushing through discomfort, it becomes, I'm disciplined. Even if those stories started as small, inconsistent patterns, repetition turns volume up until they feel like truth. Identity then feeds back into behavior. If you see yourself as not a morning person, you don't just struggle with mornings, you stop even trying. If you see yourself as the kind of person who takes care of their body, saying no to junk starts to feel in character. So the destiny algorithm isn't only about what you do, it's about the story your repetitions whisper about who you are and who you're allowed to become. Most people blame themselves instead of recognizing the script around them, but your environment is a massive part of your destiny algorithm. Think of it as your default settings. Bowls of candy on your desk? That's an algorithm. A TV as the focal point of your living room? Another algorithm. Apps on your home screen, people in your group chat, even how your furniture faces. All of that silently nudges repetition. Research shows that simply placing healthy food within arm's reach and junk across the room dramatically changes what people eat without willpower lectures. The environment edited the algorithm. If you keep failing at habits, ask, is my space designed for the person I want to be or the person I've been? Rearranging a room can be more powerful than reading another self-help book. Your destiny isn't just in your head, it's on your counter, your calendar, your browser bookmarks, everywhere your attention lands by default. So how does repetition become fate? Through compound interest over time. One workout doesn't change your body, but 300 do. One extra purchase doesn't break your finances, but 1,000 impulsive swipes do. The destiny algorithm is less about intensity and more about consistency. James Clear puts it well. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single vote decides the election, but thousands absolutely do. And the scary part? Abstaining is still a vote for staying exactly the same. We drastically overestimate what we can do in a week and underestimate what we can do in a year of aligned repetition. A tiny 1% shift repeated daily doesn't feel like much until you zoom out and realize you've veered miles off the old trajectory. Your fate is less a lightning strike and more a slow, quiet drift, powered by what you repeat when nobody's watching. Let's recap the core components of your destiny algorithm: input, processing, and output. Inputs are cues, emotions, times, locations, people, notifications. Processing is your internal script, beliefs, stories, automatic thoughts. Outputs are your repeated behaviors, what you actually do. Most people try to change destiny at the output level only. I'll stop snacking. I'll start writing. But if the inputs stay the same apps, same friends, same triggers, and the processing stays the same, I'm lazy. I always quit. The old outputs reappear. To rewrite your algorithm, you adjust all three. You alter inputs, move the snacks, silence the notifications, change where you work. You debug the processing, challenge the I'm just this way narratives. And then you redesign outputs, small, repeatable actions aligned with your desired identity. When inputs and processing change, new behaviors stop feeling like a fight and start feeling like the natural next line of code. Let's get practical. Step 1 in rewriting your destiny algorithm is awareness. You can't change code you've never seen. For the next 24 hours, imagine you're an anthropologist observing a stranger. That stranger is you. Every time you repeat something, checking your phone, grabbing a snack, complaining, stretching, opening a book, just make a tiny note in your phone or a notebook. No judgment, just data. By the end of the day, you'll see patterns, the apps you tap without thinking, the phrases you say by default, the times of day your energy crashes and you autopilot into distraction. Awareness is uncomfortable because it reveals a gap between who you say you are and what you actually repeat. But that discomfort is progress. It's the moment the invisible algorithm becomes visible. From there, you're not a victim of fate anymore. You're a debugger reading the code of your own life. Step 2 is editing your inputs. Instead of relying on raw willpower, you engineer easier repetitions. Look at your notes and ask, what cues keep leading to the behaviors I don't want? Maybe every time you sit on the couch, you open social media. Solution: move the phone charger to another room, keep a book on the coffee table instead. Maybe late night kitchen visits equal junk food. Solution: don't store what you don't want to eat repeatedly. Then plant cues for the behaviors you do want. Lay out workout clothes the night before. Put your journal on your pillow so you have to move it before sleeping. Set a recurring 20-minute focus sprint timer after lunch. Small environmental tweaks, repeated daily, beat heroic bursts of motivation. You're not trying to be stronger than your old algorithm. You're quietly rewriting its starting conditions. Step 3 is reprogramming your identity scripts. Remember, repetition feeds identity, but identity also steers repetition. We'll use that loop on purpose. Instead of giant, vague labels like I'm successful or I'm a failure, shift to specific behavior-anchored identities. I'm the kind of person who moves my body every day, or I'm the kind of person who finishes what I start. Now design tiny, daily repetitions that prove those scripts. Want to be someone who reads? Read 1 page a day, non-negotiable. Want to be reliable? Choose one promise to yourself each morning and keep it, no matter how small. Every time you act in line with that micro-identity, say it to yourself, this is like me. It feels cheesy, but you're intentionally linking neurons, wiring the story to the action. Over months, the sentence, I'm just not that type of person, quietly becomes obsolete code. Step 4 is embracing friction and fallback plans. Every algorithm encounters errors, bad days, low sleep, sudden stress. The goal isn't perfection. It's making your desired repetition easier to resume than to abandon. Design minimum versions of each key habit. 1 push-up, 1 sentence written, 1 page read, 1 minute of meditation. On rough days, you execute the minimum and call it a win. This keeps the repetition streak alive, which keeps the identity intact. Also, pre-plan your if-then responses. If I scroll mindlessly, then I'll set a 10-minute timer and do focused work right after. If I skip my morning workout, then I'll walk for 15 minutes after dinner. These fallback rules mean that even when you slip, the algorithm roots you back on course. Repetition stays on your side, not against you. Fate stops being fragile. It becomes robust, resilient to the chaos of real life. Let's distill this into a few key takeaways. First, your destiny is not one big moment. It's the sum of your most common repetitions. What you do often, you eventually do automatically, and what you do automatically, you eventually become. Second, repetition rewires your brain and your identity. Every small action is a vote, not only for a result, but for a story about who you are. Third, environment is code. Your surroundings quietly script your behavior, so redesigning your space is one of the fastest ways to change your algorithm. Fourth, focus on systems, not heroics. Tiny, consistent actions, protected by cues, minimum versions, and fallback plans, beat occasional bursts of motivation. Finally, you are not stuck. You're just running an old program. Once you see the loops, you can rewrite them. Fate becomes less something you fear and more something you participate in, one repetition at a time. Now it's your turn to actually use this. Pick one area of your life that feels like destiny is working against you, maybe health, money, focus, or relationships. Pause this video if you need to. Write down the main behavior you keep repeating there. That's the current algorithm. Next, design a tiny replacement repetition that moves you one step toward the identity you want in that area. Make it so small it's almost impossible to refuse. Then choose a cue. When and where will it happen daily? Commit to running this new line of code for the next 7 days. Not perfectly, just consistently enough to prove to yourself, I can change my repetitions, therefore I can change my trajectory. If this breakdown helped you see your life differently, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and share this with someone who feels stuck. Drop a comment with the habit you're starting today, so your next repetition is a vote for your future self, not your past.